All right, cool. Looks like it's alive. It's counting anyway. Just move that. Move that. Put that there. All right. Kia ora, everybody. G'day. Welcome back. Here in this live. First off, apologies for yesterday's live. Where's my phone's on the charger right now. I was doing a live on my phone yesterday after finishing a walk and talk with Cameron Holmes, Layers with Cam. Check out his podcast on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Spotify. So he's had a number of guests on and does some cool stuff in his little space. But my phone was overheating, so it just shut down after I think it was about 40 odd minutes or whatever that live was yesterday from the car in the car park after having done that walk. So apologies. I think some people might have asked some questions that I didn't get around to answering. I don't know what they were, but I didn't just drop off. Well, I did drop off, but not me intentionally. The phone was overheating, and so it booted me off. So there's that. I'm just going to run through a question that I have received recently. This person has sent it through Instagram and then sent it through email. Probably just wanted to make sure that I get the message. So let me just bring that up. Hey DMC, you're always there, man. You're usually always the first one. So thank you, bro. Where are we? Let's just get to that. All right, I'm going to read out this message that I received from this person. First, thank you for sending this through. I've replied to this person in their email and in IG, just saying, listen, I'll just do a live for this. I might do a separate, or maybe I don't know. I might do a separate video to it, try and respond to it a bit better. But hopefully, I can answer this. Well, I'll do my best to answer it as well as I can. Anyway, can't promise anything else. But here they've got, hi Joe. I really enjoy your content and your openness on a number of topics, including your social media journey. Yeah, it's inspiring to see how you're embracing the challenges of creating content and how you've decided to do it full time. I'm really interested, though, in your thoughts and what advice you would give to someone who is interested in doing something similar in regards to content creation. But they've got here also has bills to pay. Question mark. I'm definitely tired. I'm definitely tired of my job. It's not fulfilling, but I don't feel like I'm in a position to step away from it, so I can pursue my passion / interest in content creation. Oh, that's interesting. Passion, interest, content creation. Tired of the job. It's not fulfilling. Not in a position to step away from it. Okay. I know everyone has different circumstances, but I'd love to hear your take. Thanks for always taking the time to read and respond to the questions and requests you receive. Wishing you continued success with everything on your channel, Joe. And the best, and then they sign off. Cool message. Thank you again for sending this through. Trying to gather my thoughts as I go through having read this again. Obviously, I read it in your IG message, I've read it in your email, and I've read it again here and now. I've actually read it a couple of other times before coming here and doing this live, or deciding to do it as a live and responding. First, thank you for the kind words with regards to my little space here. Definitely means a lot, and it's helpful having people like yourself that find some sort of value in what I put out, whatever that is for you, whether it's just feeling inspired. You've got here, it's inspiring to see, whether it's just feeling inspired maybe to get into your own content creation journey or whatever, or whether it's just getting answers to some questions. Yeah, definitely embracing the challenges of content creation, how you've decided to do it full time. Interested though in your thoughts and what advice you would give to someone who is interested in doing something similar. So I assume doing content creation, YouTube or Instagram, whatever it is, full time, but also has bills to pay. So first things, actually, I recall very recently talking about this, maybe not in this specific way, but sharing that, like, and you've acknowledged it here. Everyone has different circumstances. Yeah, like our circumstances are different. I was talking about A few things actually that come to mind. One, I had been doing some social media stuff before, so again, for fear of repeating myself, I'm assuming that you've heard that and that you're aware of that. Epic Aotearoa podcast, little training channel that I had up and stuff, and that it then did a Move Sweat Suffer podcast as well with Lee Hazard he was based over in Scotland. So I've had some time and, dare I say, practice and exposure to social media content creation and or even just interviewing people. Those are probably more interviewing people, and the training video was more just, I suppose, content creation, as boring and as repetitive as it may be. But I think it was helpful to some people, at least in some small way. So it's not like I haven't started this channel from brand new scratch, not having stepped my toe into this area before and got some, dare I say, reps and runs on the board. So there's that aspect in terms of my situation. And as I'm trying to respond to your question and what you're asking for advice, someone wanting to do something similar but still has bills to pay. During that time when I was doing that, I was working full time. So I was working working in various jobs. I think at one stage when I was doing the podcast and the training channel, I think I was working a couple of jobs at that time. I think it may have been at George Weston Foods at the time, and for Youth Horizons, privileged to work as one of the team leaders in that space for a boys only home, the youth at risk type stuff situation. And that was like an evening job. So I was doing the daytime job with George Weston Foods and then an evening job on the side, and then doing these channels, one with my brother-in-law, one just my own, and then eventually with strong and conditioned himself, Lee Hazard, over in Scotland. So that was pretty busy, but also in terms of from a bills to pay perspective, I hadn't fully committed to doing, content creation full time at that stage. Where are we? Just look at, and apologies if there are comments or whatever questions coming through. I'll get to those after. I just want to try and dedicate some time to answering this question, so I can't see the chat or anything on my setup with just looking at the one screen. So if there are any comments or anything, apologies. Don't feel upset if I'm not answering them right now. I'll look back and have a look at them and try to answer them after I've gone through this. Advice you give to someone, so wanting to do something similar, I guess having a good understanding of your situation, which it seems like you do. You've got bills to pay, as you've shared, and they can come in a variety of ways, whether you're a single person, I don't know, whether you've got a partner, whether you've got a family, whether you're married, etc., a mortgage, a whole bunch of stuff and factors to consider for everybody's different situation or circumstances, like you put here, which is relevant to you in this case. But what's also interesting is what you've got. You're definitely tired of your job, and that it's not fulfilling, but you don't feel like you're in a position to step away from it, so you can pursue your passion / interest in content creation. That's an interesting part. Like, one, if something's not fulfilling, you're tired of it, like, that's a personal call, in terms of, do you just rip the Band-Aid off and go, I'm moving away from this and doing this? Easier said than done, right? Like I said, if you've got a mortgage and stuff, family, kids schooling, like a whole bunch of other factors to consider, like it's hard, man. Like, I don't think I'm qualified to tell you or anybody what you should do in that case. So I guess, for fear of potentially repeating myself in some stuff, I'll probably just talk a bit about what has helped me be able to get to the stage of where I'm at. Some of it relates to what you've just shared there. Not necessarily a lack of job fulfillment or anything, though. And for me, it wasn't being tired of my job. There were some other personal circumstances and situations whereby me leaving my recent job, why I did that, which I won't worry about getting into in here. But it wasn't because of lack of fulfillment, and it wasn't because I didn't enjoy the job. Like, working in that reintegration space was pretty cool. I enjoyed it. So it had its moments of frustration, but it was good, and it was a good salary and stuff, which I I did speak about recently too. So it was a good salary, came with a company car, which was a nice modern car. So all the servicing and stuff was taken care of by the company, and came with a fuel card and an expenses card to use for actual expenses, not to go on Blink and joyrides and that sort of thing. So yeah, it was great from that perspective. And then leaning into this space on the back end of some of those other personal circumstances, found myself going, oh, what am I going to do? I don't want to can't just sit around at home, do nothing in between. And then I'd always had an interest in social media. So I started doing that. To be honest, in the interim, once things settled down, I did start looking for a job again and applied to a number of jobs. I think I must have, I probably applied to about, dare I say, 20, 30 jobs. This was last year. So I started this channel 15th of March last year. I want to say March or May. March, I think. 15th of March last year. And even though I had started this channel with the intent of creating content, I thought, I'll do it similar to what I was doing before when I was working full time and doing YouTube and stuff on the side because I enjoyed it. Like I said, I applied for probably at least 20, 30 jobs, heard back from a handful to go in for interviews and that sort of thing, and was unsuccessful in those jobs, in the handful where I did get called in to go and have a sit-down interview. For whatever reasons, the companies and the people that did the interviews were kind enough, got back to me, let me know that I was unsuccessful. It's just that wasn't the first time, and it definitely, depending on, I don't see myself applying for any jobs now in terms of what I'm doing. Like, I'm fortunate to now be at that stage where I have, like you've mentioned, just gone in on doing this full time. So, but just to give some context, right? Like, it wasn't like I just decided to just do content creation full time and not apply for jobs. I had actually applied for a number of jobs. Unsuccessful. It is what it is. Their loss. However somebody wants to frame that for them. Whether people look at it and say, "Oh, you're not good enough," or whether I start saying that to myself, or whether I just look at it from a completely different perspective and go, "Okay, well, that's all right." Like, I've been refused or been unsuccessful in other job applications before. This isn't the first time. It wouldn't be the last time. Hopefully, maybe those are the last times because of what I've chosen to do now, or what I'm choosing to do now. But yeah, how I chose to look at it was, oh, okay, well, they're lost. Next one. And yeah, as I mentioned, unsuccessful in those handful of replies that I did actually get back after the 20. I'm pretty sure it's probably closer to 30, maybe not quite 30, but probably more than 20 anyway, applications. And a number of those I didn't even hear back from. So again, that gives you an indication in terms of either how competitive the market is or was, and or just how not up to scratch my CV may have been, or may not have been. So there's that. People's situations, like, it wasn't something that I just decided I was going to do it full time. I was actually actively applying for other roles, which I didn't get. And then I think from memory, I had a conversation with another ex-military mate of mine who's actually struggling for a much longer period of time than I had been to try to find work. I think several months of just trying and door after door being closed on him. And anyway, I think he spoke with me about me and what I was doing on social media, like early doors of this channel. And I don't know, I think it might have been more so on the back of that conversation. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do this, like, give my time and energy to this channel, to this YouTube, what I'm doing now, in a different way to what I had done before, where I was, dare I say, like a side hustle, dabbling into social media and what I was doing. Excuse me. I did have longer term thoughts of it would be great to be able to do it full time, but to be honest, I was worried. Like, I really liked the job security of that fortnightly. Well, actually, George Foods was a monthly paycheck. Youth Horizons was a weekly paycheck. I think when I was at Hōhepa, that might have been fortnightly, something like that. Maybe it was weekly as well. Can't remember. The Runanga, the reintegration, that was fortnightly. Like, so I think I had been so used to receiving either a fortnightly and or a weekly paycheck, that was hard for me to sort of step away from and have enough confidence in myself personally to go, geez, you know what, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I want to do it full time because of the fact that everything that I've seen and everybody that is, successful on YouTube, they all talk about don't expect anything soon. If you're going to do YouTube, like plan for at least 10 years of consistently turning up, doing this thing over and over again for nothing or for very little in terms of any sort of financial um, benefit, if that makes sense, let alone subscribers and comments and all that sort of thing. Like, don't go into this thinking that you're going to be able to create all this financial wealth and all that sort of stuff with your content creation. So I think those things, having that understanding in the back of my head and even at the forefront of my head, that's probably a large part of why I stayed in the jobs, but in the jobs that I just described. At the same time, like, I didn't find those jobs unfulfilling. Like, my role as health and safety business partner for George Weston Foods, I enjoyed it. Got to meet a whole bunch of different people. Got to travel to Christchurch and serve and work at that bakery. So I looked after the Woody Bakery in Manukau, South Auckland, and then once a month traveled down to Christchurch and support that bakery as well. Got to take some free packets of bread home as part of the allocation, which was one of the perks of the job. Got some free what are they, pies and that sort of thing. Bloody hell, just trying to think of what the Big Ben pies. So it was nice to, and they had those in the mess part or smoko room, where there were pie warmers and had all the different pies and stuff in there, and staff could, on their smoko break, help themselves to a pie or two or whatever. And there was always bread there and stuff. So there was, lucky I didn't just go and hammer pies. Mind you, to be fair, I did eat a lot of pies. I still like pies to this day, but yeah, it would have been very easy to turn into a doughboy if I had just carried on living in which luckily I didn't, but spending a lot of time in that in the smoko room. So those things, where was I going with that? Is that it wasn't that the jobs that I've been fortunate to do haven't been rewarding or fulfilling. It's not that I got tired of them. Working with those with intellectual disabilities, again, super rewarding job for me personally anyway, like especially when you build a connection with the people that are there. The people in our care, I think, was the term that they used. They wanted to go away from using the term residents and things like that. I still from time to time would refer to them or call them as residents if I was speaking about them in a context with other people or with other businesses that we're looking to partner with to see if they would provide support to the people in our care, aka the residents. But when I'm speaking to them, I'm calling them by their name, so it was just a really rewarding, fulfilling space to be in. Hard work, challenging work, especially for the dedicated full-time carers. And I can speak to that from first-hand experience because there were a lot of challenges during that COVID period, and a lot of challenges where we were short on staff. Obviously, a number of staff didn't want to be vaccinated, didn't want to get the jab, and I don't blame them. But as a result of that, during that time, people were losing their jobs or couldn't stay employed at the place where I was at that time if they weren't willing to be vaccinated. Like I forget what the term was, but those in those types of roles, like medical profession, first responders, working with people with disabilities and or intellectual disabilities, like physical and intellectual, that sort of thing, working with youth, like there were some pretty set parameters, which I think the government and stuff had passed down, whereby people had to either get vaccinated, and maybe in other areas as well, they either had to get vaccinated or they, sadly, many of them weren't able to work anymore. I didn't mind about getting vaccinated, so I got vaccinated. Not that I thought I needed to, but I did it. Again, maybe subconsciously because of that paycheck need, got bills to pay. And at that stage, like I said, I was just part-time doing some social media stuff in between. But yeah, probably a a genuine concern for me in terms of, well, I need to pay. We were renting a home up in Auckland at that time. Got the vehicle to service, insurances to pay, making sure that you get all the rent covered, food, children, schooling when those were still at school. Now we've only got one left at school. There's still a lot of stuff to consider and factor. So it wasn't in my playbook around, oh, I'll just do social media full time and everything will be fine. It's like, nah. And so with that, in terms of the jobs and trying to provide some context here, I guess what I'm saying is I'm fortunate that I don't recall being in a position since being back here in NZ or even in Australia where I was like, this job just sucks. Like, I've had enough of this job. I want to do something else. Like, there wasn't, I can't recall having that feeling. What I do recall is having those thoughts around, the paycheck, the security of a paycheck is pretty good. But also at the same time, like, man, I do enjoy this content creation thing and or speaking with people. That was obvious to me that I was genuinely enjoying that, and I even more so genuinely enjoy it today, being able to do it full time. So the advice that I would give to someone who's interested in doing something similar in regards to content creation but also has bills to pay, I can understand where you're coming from in terms of bills to pay, worrying about that. Humbled that you would reach out. Like I said, I don't know that I'm qualified to tell you in this case or anybody what they should or shouldn't do with anything, let alone content creation, going into it full time and or feeling unfulfilled in a job. That's a deep, my opinion, that's a deeply personal decision that you have to make, that you have to come to grips with, and decide for yourself. Like, other options, I don't know if you're making content already. You haven't shared that with me, but while you're working full time, if that's not really fulfilling, if you're tired of it, can you incorporate creating some content, making a start on it, if that makes you happy, or if you feel like that's going to make you happy, and start posting it and just doing it from a part-time perspective. So maybe you can try to have some, dare I say, balance. I don't usually use that word balance because I don't know that it's that you're able to find or have the right balance when you're looking to pursue something that you're passionate about or that you really want to do. But I'll use it in this context anyway, in the hopes that the person who's reached out to me and or anybody listening might be able to understand for themselves what I mean by that when I'm using that term. I use that term balance loosely. So could you maybe do your work? Yeah, it's maybe not as fulfilling, you're tired of it, but then do something that is fulfilling, albeit part-time for now, while you build up some reps, while you build up some runs on the board, while you identify, do I actually enjoy making content? And is this the type of content that I want to make, whatever that content's going to be for you? And yeah, because you might, dare I say, you might decide, oh yeah, I want to do this thing, like I see other people doing it or whatever. I want to do something similar. You might start doing it and go, actually, no, I don't. This sucks. Like, there's a lot of work involved. There's blinking lots of negative comments coming through. I'm getting frustrated because I don't have like the type of setup that I want to have. Whatever, there could be any number of things, and you might just discover that you don't like it, or maybe it's not for you. So, trying to find alternatives, I guess, is what I would encourage, rather than, dare I say, ripping the band-aid off and just leaving that. At the same time, you could 100%, if you are in a situation and you have the means to be able to just rip the band-aid off and go, you know what, I've had enough of this job, thanks, but no thanks, I'm ready to move on, then you could look to do something like that. But again, like, that has to be your choice in regards to what it is that you're looking at wanting to do, and or your reasons for getting into it in the first place. Um, really interested in your thoughts. Advice what you give someone who's interested in doing something similar in regards. Sorry, I've got to keep reading over this just to try to recollect my thoughts in regards to content creation, but also has bills to pay. I'm definitely tired of my job. It's not fulfilling, but I don't feel like I'm in a position to step away from it. That's you've I think you've pretty much answered a large part of your question, but I don't feel like I'm in a position to step away from it, so I can pursue my passion interest. Like, if you know that you're not in a position, well, you don't say that you said you don't feel like you're in a position to step away from it. I mean, if you know you're not in a position, then obviously, unfortunately, maybe it is what it is. But a Groundhog Day, got to turn up, do what you need to do your job as well as you can. Maybe it, dare I say, maybe you get to the stage where you're just at the bare minimum, get to work, just do what you need to do. As soon as the clock off time or shift is over, then you're out of there. There's no additional overtime or whatever. You're not interested in any of that. No, I don't blame you if you're not fulfilled and you're feeling pretty tired and drained in the job. It's hard to, I would imagine that it's hard to get up to give the best of yourself into something if your heart and mind isn't in it, you know. On the other hand, if it's something that you're passionate about and something that you want to do, well, then it's pretty easy to get up, and it's pretty easy to do stuff at any time of the day to chase what it is that you're wanting to do. But yeah, I think if you don't feel like you're in a position, maybe get what I would suggest is maybe try and get clarity around that. So you've said, but I don't feel like I'm in a position to step away from it. Is it really that is it just because you don't feel like you're in a position, or is it because you're actually not in a position to step away from it? You know what I mean? So like, do you have savings built up? Are you able to go and like here we are now, like my wife and I and the two children, soon to be one child, left at home here. We're at my mother-in-law's place. They own their home freehold. I spoke about this recently in another video as well. So we're in a position that I can do what I'm doing now. My wife is in a position where she's working and she enjoys the work that she does at the Community Legal Centre, helping the local community here in the Porirua area or Kapiti Coast catchment area. And there's no mortgage to have to worry about paying. Yeah, we've got other bills and stuff. Don't get me wrong. We have got other bills and stuff, and our property and home over in Perth, which we're still paying and that sort of thing. So there are still bills and stuff to pay, but it's not as heavy as what it was. It's and not as heavy to the point whereby I have to be making that weekly or fortnightly paycheck, if that makes sense. So where was I going with that? Like for you, if it just feels like you're not in a position, is it actually a case of you're not in a position to step away, or just if you were to look at things and or maybe I don't know if you were in a position or had the luxury privilege to move in with your parents or in-laws or whatever, which helps you save money and shift things around or whatever and still be able to manage without your particular income. um, are there ways around it is I guess is what I'm getting at. That's not for everybody. Not everybody obviously has that a desire to want to create content, but b has a desire to want to step away from a regular paying job. Like I can understand the benefits of that. Like for the longest period of time, this is the longest time I've ever been without a job, like going out and working over a year. So when did I put in my resignation? 24 December. Last day was around the 13th, 14th or something of January last year, 2025. So I've not been in a job since then, since I've been away from there. Started the YouTube channel, did put out a number of applications, unsuccessful, like I said. And so social media has been on the back end of a conversation with a friend, as I mentioned. And I'd made the decision then. It's like, yeah, why not just do this full time? So anyway, everybody's, like you've said, circumstances are different. And I think if any of us spend enough time looking into where we're at, what we're wanting to do, or what we're really wanting to do, and what's maybe pulling us back or making us feel like, man, I'm just not happy, just not content, not fulfilled in where I'm at the moment. I think there's a power in that from the context of sparking creativity in a person's mind. I know it has for me and for our family situation. Some of that as well has been a result of having conversations with my wife, and her being super supportive as well. So that's definitely helpful. If she wasn't, if she was feeling like, and if she felt like, and if we both felt like this was going to be too much of a strain, or just where we are now, without me working, well, then that would have been a no-brainer. Like I would have gone, and I think I've shared before, I would have gone, okay, well, I probably wouldn't even do any social media part-time. I would just focus full-time on getting back into the workforce, getting employed, and then, working to do what I need to do, if that's how her and I felt. But thankfully, we both didn't feel that way. We're both privileged to be in a situation where we are right now. So again, our situation's not lost on me. It's very cool, even though we did, when Mum did have her, or when I say Mum, I call my mother-in-law Mum as well. Same with my mum, as a sign of respect, not to replace my mum, obviously, but I call my mother-in-law Mum. So when Mum had a stroke down here in Wellington, and we were up in Auckland at the time in Pukekohe, and then my wife said, "Can we move down to, Wellington so we can look after Mum?" Like, again, that was a no-brainer. I was like, "Yeah, of course. I'll just find another job." Like, and I was fortunate to get employment with corrections down here. So left the jobs that I was in up in Auckland and applied down here in Wellington, and was fortunate, to get a job. There were other applications that I applied for down in Wellington prior to, which I got told no thanks as well. So again, um, having doors closed on you, or opportunities or things that you go and apply for, is not the end of the world. Like, it's just, my experience has been, and maybe that might change if I was to start trying to apply today, but I don't think it would. Like, would I be in the types of positions and roles that I've been fortunate enough to be in since being back here in NZ, or even whilst I was over in Australia? Maybe not. Maybe they'd be way more entry level type jobs, but again, that wouldn't be the first time either. So I think, just from the perspective of work and employment and fulfillment and satisfaction, and whether being tired of a job or whatever, we can all get out what we put into it, eh? And I've definitely learnt some hard lessons from that, in terms of not putting in as much as what I could have, and, dare I say, should have. And then other times where I have really, I feel like, gone well and truly over and above and beyond what was required. And again, that was because not only did I feel like the job and the service that I was being expected to provide warranted it, even though it wasn't necessarily part of the contract, but it felt right, felt good. So, you know, those things with regards to your circumstances and where you're at, and trying to navigate that space of, I'm not sure, I feel like I'm not in a position to step away from that in order to chase doing content creation. If you're not already doing content creation, like I said, maybe do some and see how you go with it. See if you like it or whatever, because heaven forbid you go and quit a job that maybe, or maybe there's still a blessing in that either way. So, but you know, I'd hate to think that you leave a job to go into content creation because you've got this picture in your head of what you think it might be. You start doing it, and you go, "Oh, actually, excuse me, it's nothing like I thought it would be. It actually sucks more than the job that I was doing. I wish I was back at the job." So I'd hate for that to happen to anybody. At the same time, I wouldn't want to be a discouragement to anybody and try to cause anybody to think that they have to stay in their job. I'm just, I suppose, for me, trying to be mindful and cautious of me trying to say to anybody, just leave your job. Like, just leave your job and go do what it is that you want to do, because I think that's probably I feel like that would be bad advice from me to give to somebody, because I don't know their situation, and so I've only got a small snapshot of your situation, or the person that sent through this particular query, and so yeah, I'm trying to navigate it as well as I can, because you've asked for, well, you said you'd be interested in what my advice would be um, to you in regards to this. So hang on, I know everyone has different circumstances, but I'd love to hear your take. Yeah, that's my take. Like, I mean, if you're in a position to be able to step away from it, and you're confident in terms of your content creation journey and what you're wanting to do, man, I 100% back you all the way. Like, go for it, go hard, get in there and do it. If you've got, bills, mortgage, family, children, sports, a whole bunch of stuff that comes into that need to be covered, and you that going into your social media journey, whatever that is, unless you've got a solid plan that you going into social media with the perspective of it is a business, which I haven't done yet. I'm trying to work on that, to be fair, but well, to be honest, not to be fair, uh, but I am probably what they would refer to as a slow burn. Like it's not a there's not like a sense of urgency for me to have to go, okay, take that hat off and put a business hat on and start speaking with people to get some consultancy around how do I improve this, to put my analytics hat on and be in the back end of the YouTube studio and start really digging down into the analytics and start doing this, that, and all these other things that there's a whole bunch of information out there in terms of how people can improve on social media, etc., etc. Like, yeah, I'm definitely a slow burn, and I don't mind that. Probably because we're in a situation, we're in a blessed, privileged situation where I'm not forced to have to try to push that hard with it. I can create content that I enjoy. I've after on the back end of the conversation on the video that I did recently, I am narrowing my not narrowing my focus. Yeah, I suppose I am narrowing my focus when it comes to some of the content that I put up. Uh, Trying to add value, and then obviously thinking of the end user, like what do they like or not like. They probably, a large majority probably don't like the fact that I yap on a lot with regards to the reaction videos, but again, I'll try to get better at that. And at the same time, there's a bunch of other things that I am interested in, so I don't want to just drop those altogether. Like, I like having a bit of a laugh at stuff. I like pulling the piss out of people that I think are doing something stupid, and yeah, and so that sort of content will still be there. It just may not be as, dare I say, as regular as what it maybe has been in recent weeks or months or whatever. But it's still going to be there. So yeah, been dialing the focus a bit more on getting these military reactions in particular done, especially with the long list that I've got. Actually, while I think about it, while I'm here, shout out to Sam from 3RAR over in Australia. He sent me the real heroes of Talismac. What is it? The real heroes of Telemark. Sorry, Talismac. Real heroes of Telemark ages ago. So sorry, Sam from 3RAR over there in Australia, 3rd Royal Australian Regiment. He did say him and his crew would have been across the road when I was at 4RAR. So we're either he's still in now, but I think 3RAR's moved. I don't think they're in Holsworthy in Sydney anymore. I think maybe they're in Townsville. Anyway, I haven't forgotten about it, Sam. I have got the links. I will be doing reactions to those, and I've actually, yeah, got them lined up to start doing those at least within this coming week, and then I'll schedule those to go up over the coming weeks, if that makes sense. Yeah, where was I? So with the wanting to get my take, man, like just make sure that what you're doing in your situation, seems like I would suggest, I'm making an assumption here. I would assume that due to the financial aspect of the position that you may be in, that's probably the part that's causing you to be hesitant on chasing the content creation path. So yeah, just find other ways and other options. If you are already doing it part time and you know that, yeah, you're definitely passionate and interested about it, maybe that's a signal for you to lean into that. Maybe with your current job, if it's a full time gig, are you able to do it part time? Like, are you able to switch to a part time role uh, with the company that you're with or whatever? Again, I don't know who you're with. Just spitballing ideas here to hopefully give you something that you might maybe you've already considered, maybe you haven't, maybe you can take away and expand on a little bit more and adapt something to fit your situation, just so that you're not leaving your income or your salary, your wage, whatever, to jump into something whereby, like I said, unless you're a blinking whiz and a guru and you've got a whole bunch of stuff that you know for a fact and you've already got evidence of that people are going to want to buy from you or whatever straight away, um, then cool. Like, that's awesome. You can just rip the band-aid off, and just leave your job. But if you haven't got something like that and it's more around still figuring your way, finding your way and figuring out what it is that you really enjoy, like still by and large to a degree what I'm doing, then maybe try to find ways to I don't know, keep one foot in the door, and so you've still got that income and stuff coming in. Unless, like I said, you're blessed and you got a house and family situation that you can fall back to, and you've got just a incredible partner who um, is, yeah, she's holding it down. Like I think I shared in the one of the other videos recently. Like we've been a single income family for such a long period of time, and even now, while she's working in her space, we are back to being a single income family. We were actually a dual income family since we've been down here in Wellington, actually. So probably for a couple of years, we had been receiving two incomes into our household, mine and my wife's, when she's at the community, or she's still at the community legal centre. And then, yeah, and then I've stepped away from my role, and we're back to a single income family. So like it can be done. Like you just make do with what you have, and be grateful for where you're at and what you have. And if you are lucky enough to have in-laws or parents that don't mind having you around, then that's definitely helpful too. So yeah, that's my take. That's my thoughts. I hope that helps in some small way, bro. Like with regards to the kind words that you put in here, the time that you've taken to send through this message. It's cool to hear that you've got a passion for content creation. Um, I don't know the exact details of your financial situation and circumstances, and I don't expect people to send through all those sort of details anyway. And hopefully, my take helps in some small way. Like, if nothing else, hopefully it sparks some other ideas, better ideas than what I've been able to try to spit out at this time. But yeah, appreciate your time and sending that message through. What have we got here? Sorry, so that's that question. I'm going to switch over to Riverside so I can see if there is anything in the chat. So bear with me. There it is. Oh, yeah, there looks like there is something. Chat. DMC, which already, like, he's always the first one there. Barracuda. Oh, man. I noticed a lot of your colleagues are writing and launching books. Wales, prompt gear. Not many soldiers have served in both NZSAs and SSA. Your story would be fascinating. There are a few guys doing books, eh? I think Andy White is another guy from Australian SSA, came over from the UK. I want to say he came over from the UK Royal Marines. Maybe it was Paras. It was conventional force anyway. I don't think he was UKSF before he came over to Australia, and then did selection and passed there. So Outside the Wire, I think that one's called. Obviously Harry Moffat's got a few books out. Good guys. Just on. Cheers, Barracuda. I didn't serve though in the NZSAs. I only did the selection and cycle, and didn't have the privilege to serve in the NZ unit. Did get to serve in obviously SASR though. Yeah, fascinating. I don't know. I think I was talking about this the other day because Solly, he's an awesome supporter over there in the UK. Always supportive of my channel. Always got a whole bunch of questions as well. And what did he say? He said he was asking me about interviews. Like, it'd be great if I would do some interviews online, blah, blah, blah. And he asked a question along the lines of being interviewed online. If somebody wanted to interview me online, would I do it or something? And I said, if he's talking from the perspective of somebody else wanted to interview me, like Ryan Fugit did for his podcast Combat Story, if for whatever reason they wanted to interview me, yeah, I would do it. And then I said, but I think, like, I enjoy seeing and hearing the other stories and doing hence the reactions and stuff. I think by and large, my story, my stuff, is out there and really isn't that interesting. Like, to me, that's what I think anyway. Right or wrong, I think I've probably through the Q&As, like the questions that I've gotten on my channel that I've tried to answer. Apologies, I probably haven't packaged those up as well as what I could have. I've tried to do that at times. So Q&As that have come through, my brother-in-law who interviewed me, Ryan Fugit who interviewed me, Cameron Holmes who interviewed me. I don't know if there's much more. I don't know if people want to be listening to the same story, because dare I say it'd probably be the same people that have already heard my story that would listen to it again on another platform, if that makes sense. That's what I think anyway. And they'd be like, "Oh yeah, I remember this. Oh yeah, yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that." And to me, I think it just probably gets to a point whereby, um, "Oh yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that before." Like, so yeah, that's just my take. Book wise, yeah, there have been a few people that have said you should write a book. Maybe a book might be a little bit more interesting or a bit more different, or I could elaborate on other things. But again, I've probably and maybe that's the point of what some of them are shared, because the stuff that I've put out, especially either in response to Q&As, is so scattered, so scattered, every hodgepodge, to use my mate's term, a lot of hodgepodge shotgun stuff that I've done recently, and dare I say, maybe by and large, a lot of it. Maybe that's what would consolidate and put stuff into one place. But yeah, who knows as well. Craig May, Bromby, I saw you doing the step ups with the pack, so I started trying. It's been about 3 weeks. I can do 70 pounds for an hour. I can't imagine walking 60 kilometers for 20 hours. You're an absolute mad lad. Yeah, there's been a few people do that, but yeah, that's awesome. 70 pounds, that's about what, 35 kilos, 30 plus kilos for an hour. That's no, like, that's not unless people have done it, like having that dead weight sitting on your shoulders, feeling it in your traps, your shoulders, your back, your hips, your knees, your ankles, everything mentally, going for an hour. That's awesome, bro. Interesting. Is that just you just doing that for your own health, well-being, fitness, PT? Like I still chuck some weight on and do the step ups as well. Sometimes I'll do them without any weight and try to move at a quicker pace just to get the heart rate up. Still get the heart rate up with weight on, but that's pretty awesome. Cool to see and hear that. Thanks for stopping by and dropping that comment in there. What's this? At TLO 65432. Do you get military pension from Australia and NZ, mate, for serving both countries? Well, I don't know that. I guess you know what. I haven't looked into that. I'm not receiving any pension like now, probably because I assume I'm too young. Well, I think I'm young anyway, but I don't. Yeah, it's not something that I've looked into. I haven't looked into any entitlements that I may or may not have from Australia, and I haven't looked into anything from NZ either. So yeah, I don't know. Um, Maybe one day, but I like to think probably the same way that I don't go to, and it's nothing to do with pride. I don't think anyway. Same way I don't go to what's it called, MSD, Ministry of Social Development. Like I don't go there for any income support or anything like that. My family and I, like we've never done that. We, like I don't feel like we're in a position where I need to go and do that. Um, there's probably not probably there are people that could do with whatever that benefit and income is per week or fortnight, however it rolls here in NZ, that likely need it more than what I do, more than what we do. Um, and we're in a good, like I said, I am and we are very blessed and fortunate. Economy and prices and fuel and food and all that sort of stuff, cost of living. Yeah, it's definitely hard there, but like there are a heck of a lot of people doing it much harder than what we are here. So we've got a place, a roof over our head, we've got food on the table, our bills are paid, and our kids are happy. We're fortunate. Different story if our 6 children are all like little children again. It'd be like I'll be out there working and doing as much work as I can. Having learnt that from my mum. It's not unfamiliar to me to work 2 or 3 jobs as well. Like having a good example of my mum doing that stuff when it was just her and I has set, for me, just a real good foundation, I think, and just a whole bunch of gratitude for where we're at. So, pension, yeah, I'd like to think that I'm young enough now. Yep, times are hard for everybody, and we're not blinking financially. What is it? Financial freedom. We're not at that stage at all. Far from it. But I'd like to think that I've still got a lot of juice left in me, energy, drive, commitment, discipline, consistent, all that sort of stuff. Like I feel like I've got that stuff. So I'd like to, if anything, probably I think part of the reason why I haven't looked into any of the pension type stuff from Australia or NZ is because I'd like to think I can do enough and get to a stage whereby I don't need to rely on that. And that if that goes to somebody else, another veteran or something like that, in some way, shape, or form that helps them that may need it more, then I think that's awesome. I love actually on the back end of that, nothing to do with pensions, off topic now. So thanks for the question though. But Gina Reinhardt, the lady over in Australia, like the billionaire mining person up there, like with Twiggy Forrest or, that level of billionaires over in Australia. I got sent through. She's built this purpose-built or established these units in Perth, in and around the Scarborough area, called the Ben Robert Smith VCMG units or apartments. I'm not sure of the exact name, but it's named after Ben Robert Smith. And I think that's awesome. It costs about $8 million for those units. And her intent, I think she's allocated a total of about 200 million. So this 8 million first allocation is part of a larger series of work that she's looking to do. She's a massive supporter of veterans and of the Australian Defence Force. And, I don't know much about her. I've never met the lady. She's probably like anybody else with lots of money. People either probably love her or hate her or whatever. I don't have an opinion of like a good or a bad opinion of her either way. But what I've seen of what she's done there in Scarborough with those units, with the intent to help veterans that are maybe struggling, and maybe, dare I say, forgotten about, even though we have Anzac Day every year, and lest we forget. But there are a number of veterans that are in, pretty bad situations, dark places, and dare I say, maybe they feel forgotten about. The fact that she's stepped up and done something like that, that's pretty awesome. That just popped into my head on the back of your, the pension comments here. But another thought that comes to mind for me is, why is Gina Reinhardt doing that? Why is it a billionaire, whether it's a male or female, neither here nor there to me, but why is a billionaire doing that for veterans? Why wouldn't the relevant government of whichever country, doesn't matter, in this case, say Australia, because where Gina Reinhardt is and where she's from and what she's doing for Australian veterans. Why can't and why doesn't the Australian government do something like that potentially for Australian veterans that may be struggling? Like, do some screening, do some whatever checks and balances you need to do on the individual, make sure that they're not just trying to milk the system or whatever. But it just prompted a thought to me anyway. Why is a billionaire doing it? And it's very easy to say, well, because they've got Lincoln lots of money. But surely that's not the point, right? Like the taxpayers in Australia, I was going to say we, but I'm not paying tax in Australia anymore because I'm not living over there. My tax is what little tax I do pay here from my side is here in NZ. But when I was paying tax over there, and people that are paying tax there now currently, there's a whole bunch of money going to public broadcasting, mainstream media, who can use a whole bunch of that money to pay bribes to people, do a whole bunch of other rubbish. I'm sure there's some good stuff that they're doing, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's veteran affairs or whatever. It doesn't seem like, it just seems to me like there could be more done. And it just seems odd to me that a billionaire is taking it upon herself in this case to do that type of thing. And that's just one project. She's done a whole bunch of stuff. I think she sits as a chair for a number of other, like the SAS Trust, I think, as well, and other things whereby, from a philanthropic or philanthropy type perspective, she's done and continues to do a whole bunch of stuff for Australian veterans, which is mind blowing to me. Again, like, where's the government in that space? Dare I say, I'd probably say Australians would probably be happy if a portion of their taxes went to supporting something like that for veterans that actually need it. At the same time, I'm sure there would be a whole bunch of taxpayers that would hate the fact that some of their funds would go towards supporting Australian veterans that might need some help. But you can't win them all, eh? Anyway, that popped into my head. I just think it's awesome. She's done a whole bunch of other stuff. Clearly, she's a supporter of Australian veterans. So, it'd be good if the government bloody did something in that vein to help soldiers. But given the fact that they're spending more than $300 million on chasing war crime charges based on allegations and labeling individuals as war criminals before they've even gone to trial, probably, and changing legislation in terms of the criteria that needed to be met in order to charge somebody with a war crime, changing that 2 years ago in 2024, they're probably not that interested. and it would seem to me anyway, in supporting the government. Heck, you've even got that twat Andrew Hastie, who supposedly was an operator within the Australian Regiment, and well, that ball bag is bloody. Anyway, I don't need to carry on about that clown. People will either like him or dislike him. I obviously dislike him. Who is this? Also, how do you motivate to get up and go run on those freezing Wellington mornings? I grew up there and know how grueling Wellington weather can be on those mornings. That's a great point. Yeah, like there isn't really any motivation for it, bro. I appreciate your questions and your time. There really, for me, isn't any motivation for it. It's just bloody get up and go and do it. I can't say that the mornings, particularly now this time of year as well, it's a lot chillier, some ugly weather. I can't say any of the mornings that I've been getting up to go, and or in the evenings we've gone, oh, I can't wait to do this. Probably the only time on a morning, which was a later morning start too, was yesterday. Like, I was looking forward to getting out and going that morning because I was doing the walk and talk interview with Cameron Holmes. So, and it helped that the sun was actually out too. The weather was nice. It did get windy up in the trig point. That was fine. I had enough layers on. Yeah, but the sun was out today. Wellington weather's a bit uglier. normal sort of Wellington weather, I guess. What's it saying? You can't beat Wellington on a good day is one of the sayings that they have here in Wellington. I think they just share that because their nice weather days are maybe few and far between, or it's perceived that they're few and far between. Anyway, I do and can vouch for the fact that there have been a number, surprisingly, where we've had a number of beautiful days here in Wellington, and I've been shocked when that's happened. But obviously, you know what Wellington's like. Yeah, there hasn't really been any motivation to get up on those mornings. It's just get up. It's cold. Put some layers on. Get my socks and shoes on, and then get out and move. Yeah, that's pretty much it. There's nothing. Yeah, no magic. I don't have any magic formula. Dan, hey bro, good to see. Oh, well, not see you. Good to see your comment here in the chat is what I should say. I think that, yeah, I think you're the last one on there anyway. So, yeah, cool. I think that's it for the comments on here for this live that I decided to jump in here on the back end of the questions that were sent through an IG message and an email, following up an email. Probably just, again, acknowledging Cameron Holmes. I have got your email. He sent through some B-roll footage for me. So I haven't replied to him yet because I've just been doing the editing. So those walk and talks, and I had the power pack that time too. So I think we went for about 3 hours. Still had plenty of battery and space left memory. I've uploaded those from the Insta360 to the laptop. There was a heck of a lot of gigabyte storage that needed to transfer to the laptop. Starting the editing process now. I'm only a little over an hour into that because I've got to try to keyframe it. And the fact that the trail, so it's different to the one with the walk that I did on the beach with Shubs, because the trail that we went on, Cameron chose a very narrow, for long parts of it, place for us to go. So when I'm going through doing the editing of this in the software that it has specifically for the Insta, I've literally got to hit play, watch it, and then pause it, and then keyframe it, and then shift the camera so that it can keep things in the frame of where it's going. I think I could probably leave it to just run 360 and people can touch their screen and actually move the camera where you want it to move to. I'm pretty sure that's what can happen because the person who sent me this sent me some footage of his diving footage, underwater cover, I think, that he had on his camera. And I was able to touch the screen and move it around. And so I could see other parts where he was under the ocean during part of his dive. So that's one of the cool things about the Insta360 X4 anyway. Maybe it's just the same with all the Insta360s, but this is the X4 one that one of the guys over in Australia sent me. So shout out to him. Sadi, thank you very much for sending this through. And the Rode microphones that I use as well. Not so much on this because they're not connecting, but I use them on when I'm doing other videos or reactions and stuff. So maybe I'll do that for the second half of the walk and talk with Cam. But at this stage, that takes quite a bit of time to go through. So that was the day yesterday. Not rushing. Going to try to not that I think I've been rushing. I think I've just been in a rhythm of do the video, do some quick edits, schedule it, and have it pop up. So it pops up when it pops up. But going to try to, on the back end again of the conversation that I had with a good friend of mine, and what I have on the title, what are you focused on, and tips to improve your YouTube channel and stuff, which basically I took a lot of takeaways from that interaction with my mate. Trying to put a little bit more, well, not a little bit more, it's actually a lot of bit more, trying to put more time and effort into the videos. So adding in some B-roll footage around some of the stuff and the conversations that Cam and I were having on the walk and talk. I'll be obviously doing another one with Shubs and probably other ones with Shubs and other guests. Got to catch up with Cam again. I'll have the privilege to interview Cam's partner. She has a cool story too, like competing professionally in the bodybuilding physique type stuff too. So she'll have a really interesting take on a lot of things, which not only am I interested in, but I think other people that that are interested in that space probably will have as well, plus a whole bunch of other things. And then Janaya, actually I spoke about Janaya with Cam. The bro hasn't replied to me yet, so I'll send him another follow-up today just to see how he's going. I see he's busy working towards a 300 kg Zerka squat. Bloody ridiculous. But just incredible in terms of what he's up to, what he's doing, what he's able to do now, and what he will potentially be able to do going forward. The long runs that he's doing. He's not a small fella, super duper strong, and racking up a heck of a lot of kilometers, and doing that with the intent of trying to inspire, his people, his Polynesian Pacifica people, Samoan heritage in particular for him, and anybody. Like, it's a whole bunch of darkies out there that think, no, I'm not built to run, or I wasn't built to do long runs and that sort of thing. And here is this young man, Janaya Leonidas, I think I saw one of his videos, so I quite like that. I call him that, Leonidas. Inspiring and encouraging other people that that you are able to, you are more capable than you think. Like, don't sort of pigeonhole yourselves into thinking that you're just, I'm this is my heritage, so this is the sort of stuff that we do, or whatever. Like, you can do whatever you want or whatever you choose to do. If you want it bad enough, then just get up and crack on and get after it. So yeah, that's cool. But I am disappointed that he hasn't gotten back to me yet, and I don't know that I think I will keep reminding him of that when I get to that stage and we have the interview, because he did reply saying yes. So I've got that email information. Don't make me put that on my Instagram, Janaya. So those that might follow Janaya as well, send him a little nudge from me and go, hey, you haven't replied to Joe's email. He checked in on you the day before. Are we still good for tomorrow? No reply, blah, blah, blah. He's checked up on you since. Still no reply, bros. What's going on? But hey, life happens for everybody. And maybe there's some stuff going on that I don't know. So, hopefully all is well with him. And I have put that in my emails too. So I haven't just slated him for standing me up. So there's that. Yeah, the editing, taking a bit more, going to try and take a bit more time and care with that. Add some other bits and pieces and stuff in there. I will say this one with Cam, there's a fair bit of footage whereby the camera isn't necessarily on Cameron and I. You can hear us talking and hear Cameron talking, and the questions that I'm asking, and then Cameron going on and filling in those gaps and adding the color. but then there's a lot of, I suppose, the footage of the trail that we're on, the Belmont Trig Trail, I think, from memory, over in the Lower Hutt, Maungarake was the area where we were. I'd never been there before, but he was right. Like, it was awesome view, got a good view 360 of the landscape of Wellington and seeing other trails. I could see Titahi Bay. I could see Colonial Knob Trail that I walk. He pointed out some other ones. Soames Island. I didn't even know that I looked out to where we were towards the city area, looked out into the middle of the water that was there. I said, what's that island there? Sure enough, Cameron knew it. He goes, yeah, that's Soames Island. I was like, what is that place? And apparently, I think it's a Department of Conservation site or whatever. I don't know. Other people might know. But yeah, I got some good education from Cam as well during the walk and talk, and that's one of the benefits, I think, anyway, of having those opportunities, delving more and having it just felt like a couple of guys having a chat, and hopefully that's how it comes across to anybody that takes the time to watch it. I think you'll learn and be really pleased with what you hear from Cameron's take and perspective on things, and some of the advice and tips that he has on not only training, but leaning into things that may seem uncomfortable, things that he's done and how he's gone about doing that and how he continues to do that. I'm always interested in how people met. So I got that story, and I'll be able to have some, he sent me through some footage of that. So I'll be able to have that either insert or potentially it'll dominate the screen when he's talking about that part. But yeah, just trying to, again, me just trying to add a little bit more value to whoever's consuming my type of content, not only audible or audio like value, but also visually to people that might have a look. Anyway, it's a start. It's definitely no Steven Spielberg production here, but it's a start, and it's I'm enjoying it. So that may mean that there aren't as many videos going out each week, but yeah, I think that's okay as well. I think as long as, what is it, quality, not quantity. Um, if I can hold up that quality aspect of it, then that'll be cool. So it won't be through lack of trying. We'll see how we go, and yeah, see where we land. So yeah, a whole bunch of, actually, that was the other one. Just a heads up on Heroes of Telemark. That's coming up. I've just done the second part reaction to the Australian lads during their Operation Anaconda. So I did part one, part two will go up once I finish editing that. What is this? Stories. Oh, and this one wasn't sent to me. I had seen this and had been meaning to look into this for a while. I think a movie's been done on it. I think the movie's called Outpost. I could be wrong. I think Clint Eastwood's son plays one of the main character roles, but I'm just looking at this little screen here. Stories of Survival, the Battle of Kamdesh. So on October 3rd, 2009, an estimated 300 Taliban-backed insurgents opened fire on a small US Army outpost located near the town of Kamdesh in eastern Afghanistan. So I've seen bits and pieces of that flash up, and I think of the actual footage, and the parts that I've seen, if it's the same movie that I'm thinking of, I think the movie's called Outpost. I could be wrong. Like, whoever the leaders were that selected that particular ground for the troops to go and set a base camp there and let alone try to defend it, must have been bloody nuts. Like, how they got into a position of leadership, I have no idea. Like, it's down at the lowest point and then just surrounded by all the mountains where there is enough intelligence and had been enough intelligence floating around for many, many years, stating that that's where Al Qaeda and Taliban like to fight from, up in the mountains, having the advantage and leverage to be dropping bombs and shooting downwards onto coalition forces. Hello, some Blinken Einstein decides that we're going to put an outpost, or that they are going to put an outpost at the bottom of all of these features, whereby they are literally just surrounded, and would go on to be surrounded. So I'm going to do a reaction to that as well. Whole bunch of stuff. So yeah, this is me catching up. That's a newer one, that Kamdesh one, but one that hasn't been sent to me yet. One that I just saw pop up on my feed, but there are a whole bunch on my list, which I will get to those people that sent through those reactions way back when. And I've dropped the ball on that and haven't done those within the timeframes, where I should have, and in some cases where I said that I would be looking to do. So that's my, that's on me. That's my bad for that. But I will be getting onto those and get them done, as well as finishing a whole bunch of other ones. So yeah, that's that. I don't think I've got anything else at this stage. I've got a whole bunch of content to do, some other personal content and questions and stuff that have come through, but I'll do those at another time. And for now, I will leave you to the rest of your Sunday. So I guess, yeah, the shout outs, Sam, obviously from 3RAR, Royal Australian Regiment over in Australia. Apologies again, bro, for taking so long with getting to that, but it's on its way. I promise you. Okay, so it is definitely coming. Shout outs, all you mob on here that have taken the time to comment and ask questions. And even when you're not just on here, the comments that you send through on other videos. I did do reaction to Slime Binsky, I call him, or Scum Binsky, we can call him as well. What's his name? Britt Slabinski. Him and apparently some other SEAL members from his team trying to bury the efforts, the heroic Medal of Honor efforts of Master Sergeant John Chapman, rest in peace, at that on Roberts Ridge. Like, I'm just really shocked and surprised that apparently the drone footage of that didn't come out until years later. So that happened in 2002, Roberts Ridge, or what's now known as Roberts Ridge. And I don't know how long after when old Scum Binsky got a Medal of Honor, and he would have likely been all the rage. People thinking that he's this incredible hero for what he did and his actions on Roberts Ridge. He probably didn't realize that there was drone footage. And then the drone footage comes out. I'd love to know how many years after, because that was in 2002, that part of Operation Anaconda. I'd love to know how many years after the drone footage come out, and then it's like, oh, actually, that's John Chapman that takes out Bunker 1. That's John Chapman who risks his life and exposes himself when that chopper gets hit and comes down, or he does that before it gets hit to try to draw fire from the Taliban that are up in that particular area at that time, and then tragically loses his life, gets shot through the heart. And did his efforts did enough to earn the Medal of Honor twice, at least in that one event, that one contact. But you never hear Slime Binsky talking about him at all. Even in the reaction interview that I did, he still, it seems like, doesn't want to acknowledge him for whatever reason. Just comes across as poor. My opinion, comes across, right or wrong, to me strikes me as a blinking scumbag. And why he's been awarded the Medal of Honor, I have no idea. Don't get me wrong. I take nothing away from him and the other SEAL team members, their bravery going back in to try to grab or get their teammate back, Neil Roberts, who I think from what I saw, fell off the back when they initially went to try to get in there and got hit. And then he may have fallen off the back of the landing, and then the chopper, emergency procedures, like needed to get out of there, and then landed, had a hard landing, however many miles away from where Neil Roberts fell out. And then to their credit, they boarded another chopper and then went in there, by the sounds of things, to try to recover him, which is awesome. So there's no denying they were brave. There's no denying they were all looking to do the right thing, go recover their mates and all that sort of thing, leave no man behind and all that sort of stuff. So, like, they've already done some really courageous things, but then to try to bury and hide what John Chapman did and sounds like make up some other stories. And then the video footage shows, well, to me, as I look at that footage from John Chapman and the other members, I don't see anything in there that would give reason to why Slime Binsky should receive a Medal of Honor. Like, there just doesn't appear to be anything. Like the Medal of Honor, Victoria Cross, those are the highest levels in, American, Australian, New Zealand, UK settings in terms of gallantry and valor and all that sort of stuff, bravery, courage. And you see John Chapman clearly do those things twice, and rightly so earn the Medal of Honor, or should it should earn 2 of them. The team leader, Britt, like, I don't see anything in his doing his job. Maybe even the guy that was up on top wasn't Britt Slimbinski, who's firing away, and then I think they say in the commentary he gets fragged and falls down the hill. That wasn't Britt. That was one of his team members. Maybe that guy gets a medal of gallantry, for what he was doing and trying to lay down some heat onto, and hate, dare I say, hate onto the enemy insurgents in that position, trying to regain the initiative, so that they could then hopefully get to their mates, is what I'm guessing they may have been thinking. But he got fragged, got hit. You see him tumble down in the ISR footage. That's not Britt Slimbinski. And then they move and they withdraw and they look to get out of there and get off that feature. Again, probably because the fire coming in from the enemy was that effective that it was, they feared for their lives. Like, if we don't get off this particular feature, these rounds that are coming in this effective, like, we are going, it's just a matter of time. Saying that he then crawled over to John Chapman and checked him for signs of life and that there was just nothing. One, you still left him behind there, so you didn't try to drag him off. And two, the ISR footage doesn't show you doing that at all, in relation to where John is in the bunker and in relation to where Slimbinski is with the other operator who gets injured, and then they start withdrawing. So just, I don't know why you couldn't just tell the truth, whatever that is. And as I look at it, it appears they went in there wanting to try to get Neil Roberts back. John Chapman started assaulting forward to one of the bunkers, because as soon as they landed, they were taking heavy enemy fire from the ISR footage and the narration that's happening. John, like a bloody mountain bear, mountain goat, whatever you want to call it, making his way towards bunker 1 on his own. To his credit, Britt is deemed to be the second person making his way towards, but never catches up to John. And then John assaults bunker 1 on his own, clears it, and then you see the team leader come up. So it's already been secured by John. So Medal of Honor 1 right there. And then they're fighting. Like, there's the other pit, from what I recall from the videos, shooting into bunker 1. So they're fighting there, and apparently John gets hit at that stage. And that's where Britt says that John gets killed, or he believes that he was dead. And he eventually crawled over to him, checked him for signs of life, didn't see anything, didn't hear anything, like no movement, no sound. And so then left him. And then had the audacity to say, even in spite of the drone footage, that he and his team members left nobody behind, that was his recollection. Like, I don't care who you are, your recollection in that moment is way off. Like, if you're saying that you left nobody behind, because if you did crawl on top of them and check them for signs of life, you clearly left them behind when you stayed low to get off that feature, pop smoke, give you some cover, and then you went down further. You left John Chapman, and Neil Roberts was still up there as well. So, fog of war, in the heat of the chaos, I would have thought you would recall grabbing, if you're on top of him and he's out, and just dragging him, staying low as best you could, and just dragging that person, dragging your teammate off the feature with you. But that isn't what happened. John was left on his own, and lo and behold, John wasn't dead. He was not dead. They don't know, they can't explain it when you're listening to the narration in the ISR footage, but he pops back up and he's in the fight again. There's a couple of Afghan insurgents that think they're going to have a run at this guy and take him out, and they get the old neck minute, and they end up in the dirt instead of John. So he takes out 2 guys, which is believed to be, from what I could tell from the narration and the footage, ending up in hand-to-hand combat. So he takes 2 guys out. I think they come at different times. And then he's still fighting, like probably very low on ammo. Like the narration says, at this time when the other chopper's coming in, he's actually already in the process of dying. Based on, and I assume they based that on when they've gone in and retrieved his body and noticed his body riddled with bullet holes, frag wounds, and all that sort of stuff. I think in excess of 12 or more bullet wounds to John Chapman. So, with every last bit of his being, as John Chapman that is, he gave, to try to save the other chopper in that as well, but also to try to get his mate back, Neil Roberts. And it wouldn't have mattered to John Chapman, I believe, if it was Slime Binsky who was stuck in an area. Looking at the way John Chapman moves forward and assaults Bunker 1, it wouldn't have mattered who in his team was up there. He had one mission, one focus in his mind. This is what I think. And that was to go get my mate. Like, to go in there and I'm getting my mate, whether I live and am successful or whether I die. Sadly, he died. And then at that other point, when the QRF chopper's coming in, he's making the same decision again. Like, he's probably seen it get hit. He can hear it. He's trying to draw as much enemy fire as he can so that they can land as safely as they can, because he knows there's a significant QRF force that are going to come in and then blink and take the fight to those insurgents that are up on that feature. And so, yeah, with his, like, every just fiber of his being sacrificing, willing to give it all. And Slime Binsky doesn't want to acknowledge that, doesn't talk about it, sits on the Medal of Honor Museum board and doesn't give John Chapman a prominent display, instead gives himself a prominent display for receiving a Medal of Honor in a contact, and based on the ISR footage that I can't see anywhere that qualifies him to be receiving one. Give him a blinking bravery medal or something. Give him a Medal of Gallantry. Like, Medal of Honor, though, like the highest award. Like I said, I think US military significantly diminished the memory and the integrity of that Medal of Honor medal itself through issuing Slime Binsky one based on the ISR footage of what took place up on Roberts Ridge. If they're looking at the criteria in terms of what they have to warrant somebody getting a Medal of Honor, which is up there with the Victoria Cross, I don't see how you can look at that and go, yep, he deserves one. Like, maybe a Distinguished Service Medal or something, or a Medal of Gallantry, like I said. But it doesn't look to me like his actions warrant the highest medal, if that makes sense, like to what John Chapman got, you know. Anyway, that's my take on it, based on the requests and stuff that have come through, and then just hearing more about that event, and one of the Air Force guys who I'm doing that reaction to on the Anti-Hero podcast. That one was heavily requested a while ago, along with Tim Kennedy reactions and stuff as well. But hearing him talk about it so far, and they've only just done the introduction so far, so part 1 and part 2 of that reaction I've done, and there's still another 2 hours more to go. But it's sad that this Navy SEAL, Britt Slime Binsky, who talks about integrity and honor, doesn't seem to be showing that or displaying that in that particular instance. You know, why he even accepted the Medal of Honor, I assumed he was advised about it at the start, that it's not forced upon him. Just like the Victoria Cross isn't forced upon the lads that earned them and that received them. He could have, and I no doubt would have, I'm sure he would have had every opportunity to say, hey, you know, thanks for that, for wanting it, but I don't think I deserve it, or whatever. And saying that, maybe he thinks he does. I'd love to see an interview with him, if there is an interview with him, whereby he's talking about why he believes he deserves the Medal of Honor. And then sit him there, have the ISR footage going with the narration, and then have him talk to that. Like, why do you think, you know, you can see this? Do you still think you deserve the Medal of Honor? Ask him. I don't think he does. And I think there's plenty of people that don't think that he does as well. At the same time, he may have a number of supporters that think that he does deserve it. And good on them. Good for them. But it gets a thumbs down from me to Britt Slime Binsky with regards to him receiving the Medal of Honor and him giving himself a prominent display in that museum and not putting John Chapman there. He doesn't even acknowledge John Chapman in his on his prominent display that he's given to himself at that Medal of Honor museum. He talks about Neil Roberts, which is great, and I'm just going off what I've heard in the interview reaction that I've done so far. And then there's a small little piece acknowledging the 7 lives that are lost, and he names them just by their first name only, and John's name just happens to be one of the names. But there's nothing else in terms of John Chapman, his actions, the actual real Medal of Honor winner, and even that just seems off. Like if there's two of you that have been awarded a Medal of Honor for that Roberts Ridge event, surely, and you're alive, surely you would be talking about what a beast and what a warrior John Chapman was. But he doesn't. So again, it just, to me, it highlights or gives me an insight into the type of person that guy is, and I just think he's a dipshit. So anyway, you heard it here first. Or maybe not, maybe you haven't heard it here first. You probably heard it in a whole bunch of other reactions that have been done, or interviews that have been done with people that have given the facts about what they think of Slime Binsky, and then you're hearing it well after the fact from me. But nonetheless, I find it interesting, and I'm going to react to it and talk about it anyway. So that being said, have a great weekend. Shout outs to all of those, the members, new subscribers to the channel, current subscribers to the channel, anybody that's been kind enough to support me, those that send through emails and suggestions with a whole list of things of what, coming from a good place, what they are saying I might want to consider, but acknowledging, hey, it's your channel, you do what you want. I'm still going to be here to support. But sending me through business ideas, basically, is what a whole bunch of people have been doing. And that's really cool. So, I think for me right now, some of those are really great ideas, if not all of them. I probably am not in the position to be able to execute a number of those for a number of reasons. And some of them are due to from a financial perspective. So, I will stick to my lane for now and doing what it is that I am able to do. And you just adapt and adjust and do what you can where you can. And for me, and as and when I'm able to step up and step into other things, whether that means getting more resources to be able to do those other things or whatever, then I will. But in the meantime, you keep turning up and chipping away and doing the things that I need to do, and or that you or we need to do in our respective areas. Good things will happen sooner or later, and that usually happens sooner than we think. So, yeah, I'm grateful for that. Grateful for you guys and spending any time here and the support. And also, shout out to the All Blacks. I don't know who won the other games. I'll have to go and have a look, but I didn't see the live coverage because I don't have the means to pay for the live coverage. So I wait for the highlights, and saw the highlight, close game, 34-32. French, bloody hell, man. What an awesome 90 seconds, I think they scored against the All Blacks. Try. Boom. Lincoln. NZ on the back foot in less than, in the first less than 5 minutes. So going to be interesting. It's definitely not one-way traffic with the landscape of world rugby these days. And it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of this, what is it, Nations Championship or Nations Cup or whatever it is, however this competition goes. Ireland, Australia. Oh, is that what's happening at the moment? Yeah, anyway, we'll see how it goes. First one, though, good start for Dave Rennie and the boys. Get the first game under their belt, get a good, hard-fought win. They faced some adversity. They made some mistakes in terms of execution and handling and all that sort of stuff, which I'm sure they'll look at and address. And they'll get better. They've only had a few days together as a team to prepare. Some people might say, oh, stop using that as an excuse. But, the cohesion and stuff does take time for teams to get together. You just look at the NBA and the Olympics and that sort of stuff. Nobody in their wildest dreams would have ever thought the USA would ever lose the Olympics in basketball. They've lost a few, and so they've identified the countries that they lost to have played a lot of basketball together, have got a lot of team cohesion, and have a really good understanding of how each other play. And I think rugby and any other professional sport is no different. So I'm confident the All Blacks will get better. And they'll learn from that, and win, lose or draw, man. I want the All Blacks to win. Sorry to the Aussie brothers and stuff over there, but when the All Blacks are playing in Australia, I've always been All Black supporter. So it'll be a good game, and largely because being over there and being one of the, probably at that time, the only Kiwi in the regiment and in my squadron, bloody boys would give me stick when the Aussies would beat us. So I remember walking into the troop office one time, and the lads had already written up the score. NZ, whatever score we had, in Australia, their score. And obviously they had a higher score because they had beaten the All Blacks in that particular game. And they knew it would wind me up, and it did. Yeah, so I wasn't in the mood to talk to any of them, and it didn't stop them from digging the needle in further. So yeah, some good memories, good times, some not so good memories and good times. But look after yourself. Appreciate you all. Thank you for your time support once again, and I will see yous on the next video. Keep tuning up, keep staying in the fight, put one foot in front of the other, take one day at a time. If things suck for you right now, if they're really miserable, if they're really hard, know and trust that things can do and will get better. I promise you they will, as long as you want them to. And then just head down, backside up if you have to, and just keep chipping away until things get better. There is a light at the end of that tunnel. Those better days are closer than you think. And they are always closer than you and I think. And there is, you will feel that sun again, when you get through that miserable, dark time that you may be in at the moment. So just stick at it. As always, go always a little further. Remember, who dares wins and who cares wins. And until the next video, there is a big mana wave coming from me to you, filled with my aroha, respect, appreciation, and gratitude for you all. Ka kits, peeps. Look after yourselves, and thank you once again